Buffalo Bills who win. Blocked
by Singletary, and it's caught for a touchdown. Cole Beasley. Here they come. Down he goes. Corkscrewed in by the rookie Ed Oliver.
Singletary in the backfield. He gets the handoff. Tries the left side to the 5. To the end zone for the touchdown.
Allen, he's going to run it. Can he get it there?
Second down and 13. Allen going deep, and he's got him. Touchdown! John Brown, what a catch!
And he tosses that one up towards the press box.
Buffalo Bills. Shut up!
What is going on, everybody, man? If you guys are tuning in, this is the second installment of the Bills Yak Podcast, second episode. If you guys don't know, I got my guys with me. James Mallory in the building, as we like to call him, the NFL pedigree. Got my guy, Greg, the Sports Billy Boucher. I hope you guys checked out his latest mock draft this week as we released it. You know, it was dope. Yeah, I got a nice little surprise in there for you. How you guys doing tonight, Greg?
All right, man. Feeling good, man. Ready to talk some Buffalo Bills, baby.
James, what's up, man?
All good, all good. I don't care, man. If it's late, we ready to talk. Let's get it. Let's get it.
Let's go. So, fellas, obviously our season ended this week. Just very, disappointment. We, not the way we wanted to see it in, not the way the result we wanted, but nonetheless, this is a review show. Good season altogether, right? I mean, obviously, there's no consolation prize for second prize. I'm pretty sure on this panel, we all go with the James Harrison rules. No trophies for the kids if you ain't won everything, right? But a lot of positives, a lot of first in like 20 years for this team. I mean, how we feeling, man? How we feeling about this game? How we feeling about going forward? And honestly, we're going to talk tonight about how we feeling about getting over this Mount Mahomes and Andy Reid, if you want to call it that. So, James, man, what's the deal, bro?
All in all, I think it was a very, very productive and good season. The better team won. I mean, they came out, went toe-to-toe with them, and they just beat us. Sometimes it happens in sports, unfortunately. That's what it is. It is what it is. They were the better team that night, and, they deserved to be in the Super Bowl. Our boys, they fought, man. They fought. One thing I love about this team, they did not back down. They did not give up. But now we know what it is we need to do as an organization to fix, all of our flaws, so to say, and get back to the AFC Championship game hopefully next year, and then hopefully win. So I think we know what's required to win. Sometimes you got to take those lumps to get to the Super Bowl or get to a championship. So let's go ahead and take those lumps now, and then let's get this thing right.
Not for sure, Greg. I know you had a lot of thoughts. I know you caught me like. Greg was pissed after that game, man. He's like, I just got to vent. It would have been great to get on live right after it was so late and stuff like that. But what you think, man, of the game overall, game plans? I know you had a lot to say about our offensive game plan, what we did.
I mean, I think first and foremost, we got outcoached. I think we got outcoached. I think we got outplayed. And I think we realized that Kansas City is just a better team than us. They got more weapons. They got better playmakers. They had a better system. They got better execution of that across the board. And that's fine. I mean, that doesn't mean that we're dogs and that we're not good. I think we just realized, like James said, sometimes you need to take a beating to realize how to counterpunch. So I think we know. I think our coaches know. I think Brandon Beane knows that there's definitely some issues to be resolved, some upgrades to be made, some tough decisions to come. But I think we're ahead of schedule. We got into the first year of Josh Allen's success was last year. We got to the playoffs in a game we should have won, but we lost. And I think the feel-good story was over with, and we realized, hey, we got a good team. Stephon Diggs comes in, and we realize, as things start going forward, we're a pretty damn good team, and we have a real legitimate shot of getting into the playoffs, going far into the playoffs, and if not winning this whole thing. But you look back from last year, Houston Texans game, we realized after that we had some moves to make. Brandon Beane went out there and said, hey, we can't survive with just John Brown and Cole Beasley. Went out and made the move, got the guy we needed. So I'm pretty sure, I'm confident in this offseason, when we'll get into it, what moves we need to make. I'm confident that Brandon Beane already knows. He's already got his little black book out of the things that he needs to do to make this team take the next step next year and beat Kansas City. And I said earlier, everything that we do this offseason, every decision we make, every business decision we make, every contract we either cut or keep has to be predicated on, will this beat Kansas City?
And you said the biggest thing, Brandon Beane, and I think my mic is really low here. Hold on. Let me try to get this all situated here. You said the right thing. Brandon Beane is going to have to make a decision here of what we're going to do and what choices we're going to make, because now you may get quarterback money on the books this season. So it's going to be something we have to do. So, I mean, when we talk about Brandon Beane, and Greg, I'll let you start. When we talk about Brandon Beane, what is it that he has to do to fix this team? What's the one thing you see that we're missing to get over the Kansas City Chiefs?
Unfortunately, I don't see it being one thing. It could be fixed. I don't think it's anything that's overly drastic, but I think we need, defensively, we need to bring in a playmaker. And I've been saying this for a while. We need a disruptor, an edge rush guy who makes offenses, have to game plan around them, have to make business decisions. We don't have that guy. He's not on the roster. We'll get some people saying, oh, it's Matt Milano. We got to keep Matt Milano. I'll argue with you till the cows come home. It's not Matt Milano. Don't get me wrong. Guy does some good things. It's not Matt Milano. We got to go out there and find a guy who can get us 10 plus sacks a season, who wreaks havoc on quarterbacks, who makes offensive linemen get outside themselves and miss blocks and disrupts and makes guys around him better. That's not Matt Milano. And if we want to beat the Kansas Cities of the world, we need that guy. Now, luckily for us, there's a quality group of those guys in the draft that should still be available when we're on the board. But I think aside from that, we have to fix this run game. And James could definitely elaborate on that and how we have to go about doing that. But we got to fix the run game. Great. We threw the ball around the yard. We scored 500 points. We lit up the scoreboard all year. But the Achilles heel, when we needed it most, especially against Kansas City, to eat up clock, keep the ball out of their hand, give our defense a break, we need to be able to run the ball.
Right.
And we weren't able to do that. So those are two things we need to fix, I think, first and foremost. Fix the run game. And I don't think it's go out and get another running back, go out and draft one in the first round. I think we have quality running backs on our roster right now who could carry the load and get the job done. But something needs to be fixed in our scheme and our personnel on the interior of that offensive line, and go out and get ourselves an absolute X factor on defense who could make things happen.
Well, for me, I agree with you, Greg. I couldn't agree with you more. I just think we need that Swiss Army knife on defense. We just need a dude, just a baller, just a dog. Everybody use that term so much now, dog, that I hate to even use it now, but I'm gonna use it here anyway. You just need a guy, who can, Lorenzo Alexander, young version, so to say, a guy that can play a little defensive end, a guy that can line up at linebacker, dude that can run. Somebody that's not gonna miss the sack on Mahomes, oopsie, there. Somebody who's gonna light them up and say, hey, we here. We need that dude. And I think you may need to draft that and, not put too much on his plate the first year. Like, hey, your job is just be an athlete, just go get the quarterback. And it may be somebody that's a project, but one thing he can do is get to the quarterback. And I think that's what we need in the worst way. Unfortunately, I don't think Mario Addison is the answer for that. So I think he's going to, I'm 50-50 on that. I think he's going to end up gone because of that. Keep Hughes, but you need that guy, that situational dude. He don't have to be a full-time guy. He could be situational where he comes in, he gives people headaches. Then also the running game, fixing the running game, and everybody screaming, get another running back. That's not the answer, in my opinion. There's more than enough talent in the running back room to win right now. More than enough. You can win the Super Bowl with Zach Moss and Devin Singletary as your primary running backs. Teams have won Super Bowls with less talented guys. But what they need to do is, they have to really commit to running the ball a little bit more. And that's going to come with practice reps
Right.
and just getting into a flow. You know what I mean? That's what's going to happen. So those are two things. I agree with you, Greg. We just going to have to make that work.
100%. I think, like we keep striking on, I don't think we need to go out there and draft a running back in the first round. Now, Twitter's on fire right now about, the Mel Kiper says the Buffalo Bills are going to get Najee Harris in the first round, and everyone else is falling in place saying, yeah, you're right. Our run game stunk. Devin Singletary's a bum. Zach Moss ain't worth it. We need to go out and get a first round running back. And I'm scratching my head. I'm like, are you serious right now? That's what this team, did you watch this season? That's what we need right now. That's going to be the difference maker. I get angry when I hear things like that. And I think a lot of times it comes from just lazy fans who thinks this game is like Madden, that you just create a running back and you hit the juke stick and then you get a 90-yard touchdown. There's a lot of things, and James, you know better than anybody.
Right.
There's a lot of things that go into a run game and a successful run game.
A lot of moving parts. Yep.
You know what I'm saying? And it's the personnel groupings. It's our blocking scheme. It's our personnel on the roster on the field. It's all of that. And I don't think that, like you said earlier, that wasn't the attention. That wasn't our focus. And I think we lost sight of that. I think a lot of that's on Dable to bring that back around and say, hey, listen, we need to fix this. And Bean talked about it, the other day. That's a focus of this, fixing this run game. I don't think you fix it by drafting a running back at 30. Now, you might be able to fix it by drafting an offensive guard at 30. If you brought me in a Wyatt Davis, that give me an offensive lineman it's a man-eater, a road grader at 30. I can get behind that. But I don't think getting another running back is the solution by far.
Well, that's the biggest thing that I've been saying myself about the running game in general is the fact that people keep saying, it's Devin and Zach. How do we know? Hell, first of all, we throw the ball 40 times a game. There was 3 games in 2019 season that we lost, where it was the Browns, the Eagles, and then the Ravens. And all those games, we went away from the run in bad weather, essentially, or not conducive weather, except maybe the Browns game, and we lost all 3. And we knew that at some point that this was going to rear its ugly head again in this season. And one of the biggest things I always said in the offseason was, one of my worries was, is Brian Dable going to go away from the run completely with getting a weapon like Stephon Diggs? And it seems like we kind of did in a way. You know what I mean? Like I kind of felt like that.
Yep.
And in doing so, Josh Allen took a huge step forward. Don't get me wrong, he definitely did. But you got to run the football. That Kansas City Chiefs team that we played the other day gave up 5.6 yards to carry against the Cleveland Browns the week before. They're running speed packages. They're running one linebacker with Drew Sorensen as their other linebacker, technically. That's a team you should be able to run the football on and overpower them.
Absolutely.
And we didn't even bother trying. That's the issue. So I can't see how you could say, well, you got to get a better running back. Well, what the hell is that going to do if we're not going to run the ball?
Yeah.
Right. Exactly. We there's problems to be fixed there. There's issues to be fixed. And I think, like you said, JT, we were definitely going to see a reduction in the run game by bringing in Stephon Diggs and then seeing the maturation of Josh Allen. It was definitely going to go that route. But I don't think any of us were seeing it going this drastically, especially when we just drafted Zach Moss in the 3rd round. So I don't think any of us really realized how little we were going to run the ball. And the little times that we did, it wasn't very successful. So I think we all kind of said, well, we're not running the ball well. We don't need to. And they're going to get rid of it. But we all knew this was going to come back to haunt us. And it did in several games this year. It came back to haunt us that we just didn't have a run game to sit on.
Yeah, I agree. I definitely agree. But let's not forget the style of running backs we have too. Devin Singletary is a rhythm running back. He's not a guy who can really get flowing. If you give him, I'm gonna give you 3 carries here. Oh, we'll see you. We won't give you the ball in the 2nd quarter. Okay, 3rd quarter we can give you the ball 5 times and expect you to just ball out. He's a rhythm type of guy. And I can really relate to that because I was a rhythm type of running back where I really got to touch the ball and really get into a groove. And he's that type of running back as well. He gets better with carries. The more carries he gets, the more productive and better he is. Zach Moss, he's not that type of guy. He'll get the ball. He's Zach Moss. But Singletary's a rhythm guy. You got to get him the ball. They have to get him more touches in the running game for him to be productive. I mean, they did him a disservice by doing him like that, to be honest.
I felt like they treated our running backs like almost like Isaiah McKenzie, where they were basically packaged running backs. Like we had a couple design plays for our running backs to get the ball, and we were going to get back to what we do. So the fact that we made it an afterthought, it hurt us, and it needs to be addressed. I believe that's one of either, if not the biggest priority this offseason, or the top two priorities this offseason to address is fixing that run game, because we all love Josh Allen. We all know Josh Allen is great and he's going to get better. But as good as Josh Allen is, I don't want to see Josh Allen throwing the ball 50, 60 times a game.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? We need to run the ball. We need to give our defenses breaks. You know, that's winning football. And we need to go and fix some pieces up front. I think we need to make some tough decisions on the interior of our offensive line. I mean, I know John Feliciano is a free agent. Ike Bodiger is a restricted free agent. Darrell Williams is a free agent. And you got Cody Ford kind of waiting in the wings as, you know, a tweener who really we haven't seen much from him yet, and we're not really sure what we're going to get from him. So there's some questions to be made up front as to what we're going to do and what direction we're going to go in. You know, we're going to keep that same core and change some things around, or are we going to kind of wipe it clean and upgrade all around the board, you know?
Well, I mean, before we get into the interior line, because it's definitely something that I want to talk about, because Brandon Beane and Sean McDermott both had some interesting takes on this team and moving forward. And speaking of, you know, Josh Allen, are we expecting any type of regression from Josh going into year 2020, year 4 essentially next year? Because he's coming off a stout year this year. You know, I mean, I think, as you alluded to earlier, this team is ahead of schedule, and this team is probably a little bit ahead of schedule because of the play of Josh Allen. He's ahead of schedule. Are we expecting regression? What do we expect from Josh Allen in year 4? Because if you really look at year 3, he's probably won Aaron Rodgers' exceptional season for being league MVP.
Yeah. I mean, the regression, it's hard to say. It's hard to say because it's how you look at regression. Some people will look at regression if he don't throw for the same amount of yards, if he throw for less yards. I look at it just his field command and what he brings to the table, and you know, his him, you know, his control of the offense. You know, I think he's going to take a step forward. I think he's going to do a lot better. His yards maybe go down if we run the ball a bit better, but I think he's going to take another step forward. That's why I've been pushing for so long for them to really sign him to a contract extension immediately. You wait another year, his number is going to be crazy. So I expect for him to take another step forward.
Yeah, I mean, I certainly don't expect him to regress. But like I said, what are we basing that on? That he's not going to hit, you know, another 40 touchdown season? I mean, if he goes out and throws 35 touchdowns next year, is that regression? I don't think so. What I would look for is he going to minimize mistakes? Is he going to cut back on those mistakes that he made? Now, there weren't, you know, they were less than they were the year before, but he still made some mistakes. He had some throws that were questionable that luckily didn't get picked off and stuff like that. And he's still struggling with that bravado of going down when he's getting wrapped up, and he'll turn a 8-yard loss into an 80-yard loss. So there's still some things there, but I don't foresee Josh Allen regressing. And as we're saying right now, what could help Josh Allen? His play action passes this year were really predicated on nothing. Nobody felt like we were going to run the ball. You give Josh Allen a competent run game. Now Josh Allen play action pass with guys like Stephon Diggs and Cole Beasley. That's a tremendous upgrade to his offense. So I really don't feel that it's going to regress at all. I feel that he should improve next year in a couple categories for sure.
I mean, when you really think about it too, Allen's play action pass was actually the strongest play from his second year, and I thought was going to be even stronger this year. But like I said, the lack of a running game really hurt us, and it really hurt him in that category. And you know, you expected John Brown to be the recipient of those play action passes. We know John was out for most of the season. One of the things I noticed when we did play the Kansas City Chiefs is just how much speed that the Kansas City Chiefs put around Patrick Mahomes. Like really, Travis Kelce is fast for a tight end. McCole Hartman and Tyreek Hill both have world class speed. It's just speed all across the field. And obviously, Sammy Watkins is not as fast as he was when we drafted him, but when he plays at a high speed level. And that's something I think Buffalo is really going to have to focus on bringing in the offseason on both sides of the ball. Just some more rare speed. I think that's one of the main things that we're lacking.
I can agree. I agree there. Just playmakers, skill players with just that elite speed. I mean, that was obvious. The way the cornerbacks played, they were not trying to get beat deep. I mean, you could see it, the cushion they were giving them. And I mean, they were bailing. They were getting out of there. Because that world-class speed, once again, JT, yeah, you onto something there. And then, you know, we're world-class speed. Supposed to be John Brown, but with the injuries and everything that slowed him down this year, he wasn't the same John Brown. He wasn't that guy that beat people really deep this year. So that is something we definitely have to address as playmakers on offense with some elite speed.
I agree. I mean, and I think that could be said every year. There's never a team that says, no. We got enough speed here, fellas. We're good there. I think you could always look to upgrade speed, bring more speed in, and stuff like that. I think there's plenty of talent around Josh Allen right now, but I'm definitely one of those people that believes we could always be getting better and giving him those pieces. Defensively, that's where I would feel like we need more speed and more athleticism is on defense. That's my bigger concern in terms of looking at a Kansas City. They have the speed that definitely puts our defense in a bad situation. And how do you counter that? Well, you got to be able to play speed with speed on defense. And I think we lack that in a lot of areas up front and in the secondary.
I guess the question is, we have a bunch of things that we need to fix. Obviously, we need to. I still think the interior O line is a problem, and I know we're going to really touch on that. But how do we do this? We're going into the offseason with $2 million in cap space right now. Technically, that's really what we're going into. We'll probably roll that over, so we'll probably start with like maybe $4 million total if the salary cap is where it is. And the way Brandon Beane was talking in his season in the presser, it seems like he's pretty confident that this cap is going to drop to that number, and that's what we're going to have. It's going to start the offseason with $4 million. So there's going to be some tough decisions. And personally, if you ask me, and I think everybody on this panel eventually going to agree, if you want to find some money to cut, you better start in that defensive line because that's where you tied all your funds at. We have the most expensive defensive line in the NFL for the fourth straight year. And for the fourth straight year, we can't rely on one freaking guy to go out there and rush the passer and get sacks on a consistent basis. And I know a lot of people say is Jerry Hughes wins pressure rates. I don't need pressure rates. I need sacks. I need results. That's what you pay defensive ends for. That's what you pay defensive linemen for, to get sacks. I know a lot of people jump on Ed Oliver, and that's somebody else that we got to touch on. Is he underachieving? That's a really big question right now because the job he was drafted at. Before we get into that, I do want to talk about the interior line because there was one thing that rubbed me the wrong way about Brandon Beane's presser yesterday, and the main thing was the commitment again to Cody Ford. And I'm not saying Cody Ford is not going to be on this team. I'm not saying that he won't be good. I don't know, but for him to be as committed as he is, that's a problem to me. This guy has been injured. And when he wasn't injured, he really wasn't that good. We tried him at right tackle, which we all knew he shouldn't have been a right tackle. He was not a right tackle coming into this league. We knew that. But they did it anyway. And you did some stupid ass like QB carousel thing at right tackle last year, rotating people in and out. And I'm not with that. You're a professional. You can either play or you can't. Then we put him at right guard in the preseason, in the early beginning of the season. A training camp, then we have to move him to left guard because you wanted to hide him. You're not going to say that, but that's exactly what you want to do. You wanted to hide Cody Ford between Deion Dawkins and Morris. So why are we hiding people? If he can't play, he can't play. Just take the loss and take the L of a draft pick and move on. James, I know you want to feed into this, and I know, Greg, you are an offensive line guy. So, come on. Cody Ford, what's up?
Yeah. In regards to Cody Ford, I'm a guy where I think he should be given a legitimate chance to start a guard. I may be in the minority here, but I really think they should give him an opportunity. And if we really look at it, he has been injured for 2 years. He hasn't come in healthy at all. He didn't have an off season. He had shoulder surgery. He was out for 6 months. So he couldn't even bench press until training camp, if I'm not mistaken. So, I mean, that's tough. That's tough. I mean, let's give this man a legitimate off season. Let's give him OTAs. Let's give him mini camps. Let's give him a proper training camp. And let's see what we really got. If he doesn't work out then okay, that's a problem. But I legit think he can be a really, really good starting guard in the NFL. And I think, he's caught a couple of bad breaks. Now, if it just doesn't work out this year, then, obviously that's just what it is. But I think we definitely have to get better in the interior. I mean, it was obvious. And I believe that's where the run-in problems start, is the two guard positions. Not that Feliciano was bad, but I think that we pumped him up a little bit more than what he really was. He's a average starting guard with an attitude. People pump it up because he played with an attitude, and we love that. But he's an average guard in the NFL. He's a starting caliber guard, but he's not above average, or he's not good. And if we rating it that way, I'm not saying he's a bad player, but I'm a Cody Ford believer still. I think we need to give him a legitimate shot. I think he can be a force in the inside. If he's healthy, we can get him healthy, and we can get him to get rolling here. I think we got something.
Wyatt Teller. Son of a bitch, Wyatt Teller. That was all our problems right there if we just stuck around with that guy. But, I mean, obviously, I wish that didn't go the way it did. But Cody Ford wasted his entire first season trying to play right tackle, which – like I said, we all knew that was going to be an abomination. He wasn't built for that. He doesn't have the length for that. That wasn't where he was going to stand up well in the NFL, and it showed. Moving him inside was the best way to salvage him and try to get him on the right track and justify trading up in the second round to get him. I'm not one of those people that's going to sell him and say, we're done with him, move on with him. We haven't seen the full picture from him yet, but I'm also one of those people that believe if we just keep on that same plane of the same mediocrity and the same people in the same group and say, those guys are good enough. Those guys are good enough. We're not going to take that next step to beat Kansas City. So to me, give Cody Ford, he should be able to come in and compete, but by no means should we settle on Cody Ford and say, hey, we got our guy. He hasn't earned it yet. He's not the guy. He's got to come in and compete. So I don't think there's any reason why we shouldn't be on the free agent market looking for upgrades to come in and or through the draft early to bring somebody in who could be that guy from Jump Street. And like we said, Cody Ford has been hurt. Okay, well, sometimes that's who people are. Sometimes we get guys that just can't ever get healthy. 2 years, 2 major injuries, and he's lost a lot of time and a lot of time to develop. So I'm not saying we walk away from Cody Ford, but by no means should I say we put all our eggs on the Cody Ford basket and say, all right, that's one of the interior lineman positions in check. Now we can go elsewhere. I think we still got to bring somebody in who can either play that position right off the rip or compete and make Cody Ford better. And moving over to Feliciano, like James said, yeah, he's good enough. But we don't want to be good enough anymore. Good enough got us to not be able to run the ball all season long. Good enough got Chris Jones eating up Josh Allen in the playoffs. You know what I'm saying? That was good enough. We need to upgrade, and I know it's easier said than done, especially with the cap limitations we're looking at. We got to walk away from a John Feliciano. We got to upgrade, and we got to make tough decisions. And I know a lot of people like him, and he's a bruiser, and he's a rowdy guy, and he's not afraid to mix it up. Well, shit, most NFL linemen are like that. Most NFL linemen are alphas, willing to stand up for their quarterback and throw some fists if they have to. So those are the decisions that we got to make on the interior. We got to get better, and we can't just say, "Oh, those are our guys. We got to keep. We got to get better." Period.
I guess my biggest problem with it is just it felt like a strong. I don't mind endorsing Cody Ford. Okay, whatever. That's what you want to do it. You're not gonna slander any player in the media. I totally get it. But when you say I feel like Cody Ford one of our best 5, and that he's gonna be a starter in 2021, that's saying too much to me. I haven't seen he hasn't
based on what?
Right. That's what I'm talking about. And I think Cody Ford could be a starter? Probably. He probably could. But it's just to endorse him that way when you benched a Quentin Spain and pretty much had to ultimately end up cutting Quentin Spain because you benched him for Cody Ford, in my opinion, or Brian Winters. then I have a problem because now it feels like you're shuffling this interior line and you can't get it together. And let's not deny the fact that your center is one concussion away from being out for quite a little bit of time.
Yeah.
So you're going into this offseason with a question at left guard, at right guard, and if your center gets one concussion, you have a question there, question mark there as well.
And
Winters is
Daryl
a free,
Williams.
yeah, and Winters is a free agent. Morris's contract, I don't think he'll be a cap casualty personally. Now I know we put him on the cap casualty list, possible because the cap number is high enough where it's like, hey, you know, he can go. You never know.
Definitely up for consideration.
Yeah, right. But there's some questions that we got to answer, and God knows, you said Daryl Williams is still a free agent. What happens if we don't get Daryl Williams back? Cody Ford isn't the guy. Mitch Morris gets a concussion. We let Feliciano walk. My God, can you imagine what this offensive line is going to look like next year? We're right back to square one.
I agree. I think Daryl Williams probably the number one priority right now.
That's a absolutely great point. I mean, we are out the gates in a crappy situation if a few things go bad for us. I mean, that can be said for a lot of teams, but like you said, not having Daryl Williams signed, Mitch Morris could be concussed in training camp, and the mystery of Ike Bodiger and Cody Ford right now. So, yeah, it's and like I said, these are the things that when people say like, "Oh, go out and get a running back," back up a little bit here, man. Back up. It sounds great, man. It sounds great. Trust me, I would love to have one of those dudes on my team, but at what cost? We're not used to drafting 30th overall. We're used to drafting at 10, where pretty much you could wake up and pick a guy that's going to contribute right off the rip. 30. That's a big difference. That's a big jump in talent. The evaluation, you can't miss it 30, because if you go and you throw a pick at a running back at 30, when you have all that we just talked about it. Right now, we as if the season started today, we don't have a right tackle, we don't have a guard, and we're going out there with maybe a Cody Ford with one leg, and you want to go out and draft a running back? Come on, man. Come on.
Especially in the first round. Like I said, I think it's overblown. I think this whole Singletary Moss running game thing, I think it's way overblown. I think fans are just making an issue out of it, and I don't really see an issue. Do we need to incorporate a speed back into our package? Yeah, but guess what? If we would stop carrying 6 safeties onto the rosters each week, and 9 defensive ends or defensive linemen on the roster, then you can carry 4 running backs if you want to keep a Tywan Jones or Sonoris Perry, which you had to have on the roster in 2019 all year. You can keep a speed back. A lot of teams carry 3 backs now. But one of the problems, like I said, don't get me wrong, I don't want to criticize Sean McDermott or Brandon Beane a whole lot, because what they brought to this franchise is more than we've had, obviously, in almost 2 decades, okay? But they have to be held accountable just like everybody else does for their mistakes. And one of their biggest mistakes that they make, in my opinion, is their stubbornness to go away from their quote-unquote guys. And quote-unquote their way. That's their biggest problem. And we go back to that Kansas City Chiefs game. If we all would have knew that Cole Beasley was out there playing with a broken freaking leg, and you signed Kenny Stills and you didn't activate him, and you let Gabe Davis go out there with a bum ankle, and Kenny Stills wasn't activated,
that's a problem.
That's a problem. That's sticking with your guys way too much. We got to get away from that.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I came up through football with a philosophy of we could all be friends, we could all be family on the sidelines, but it's all business once you cross that white line and get on the field. And I think that's the mentality that they have to have in a certain extent, keeping it a business, where you could love these guys, you could like these guys. You know what I'm saying? You could be a big fan of Feliciano or be a big fan of this one or that one. That's fine. But business decisions need to be made. And sometimes tough decisions need to be made. You know, I'll sit here and I'll pound the table all day long. I am not a fan of Jerry Hughes. I'm not. I think he's overrated. I think he's getting paid way too much money. And to me, that's a hard thing to say, because personally, I like Jerry Hughes. I like the intensity he brings. I like the leadership he has. He's been a Buffalo Bill. I like that all about him. But I have no problem saying, hey, you know what? Now is the time. If not now, when? And that's the way I feel with a lot of these guys. If not now, when? If you're not willing to make the tough decisions to move on from people or bring people up or bring people in, then you're going to get stuck at this. You're not going to get better. You're going to stay in mediocrity. And that's where we can't stay this offseason. This offseason is way more important than last year's. There's a lot to beat. And I said Brandon Beane's hardest offseason that he's ever faced is right now. You got a Josh Allen contract looming. And we all know that thing is going to be epic, especially by Buffalo Bill standards. You have a right tackle that needs to be signed. You have a cornerback 2 situation. You got Matt Milano who's going to walk, probably get priced out. You got, it feels like 35 guys on a defensive line who are making a ton of money. So fat's going to get cut there. So Brandon Beane, if he's going to be the GM of the world, this is where it's going to get down to. And like you said, we don't want to sit here and bash people, JT. If we weren't, we wouldn't have much of a show. We'd be all up here just kissing ass and smiling. So to call the real truth is Brandon Beane has done good so far. Obviously, we can nitpick on some issues here and there, and we will. This offseason is the biggest test he's ever faced as a GM, especially in Buffalo, with all the different things he has to do. Because the standard's set. We're not going to be happy going 10-5 and not making the playoffs next year. That's not Buffalo anymore. That's the standard is set. We are a playoff team, and we got to get to the Super Bowl. So if he's not able to go out and make a roster that can do that with the cap limitations that we're facing, then he's the one who's regressed. That's what we're worried about. Not Josh Allen regressing. I'm worried about Brandon Beane regressing. He's got to go out and make some miracles happen this offseason.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. But the Jerry Hughes thing, I don't see him going anywhere. Jerry Hughes isn't going anywhere. That's once again, you say it's their guy. I like Jerry Hughes. Me personally, he's just not going to be a 10-sack a season guy. It's just not going to happen, especially at this point in his career. But he's one of the guys that really locker room push the culture, but he's still productive. He's productive enough to not get rid of. That's the thing about Jerry Hughes. Mario Addison is a little bit different. I think Vernon Butler is definitely gone. We have to address that defensive line. I agree, it's just not enough production. I think Ed Oliver, I think he's going to come out next year, and I think he's going to blow it up. I think he's going to tear it up. I really think he is. That's just my opinion. But the only way I see Jerry Hughes or Addison being gone at the same time is if you bring in a big name guy. You bring in a J.J. Watt. You bring in, you make a trade for a Khalil Mack. I know that's not realistic, but I'm just throwing that out there. You make a trade for somebody like that. That's the only way I see those two going. Otherwise, I think at least one of them going to stay. I can see Addison going, but I can't see Jerry Hughes going anywhere. But this is a very important offseason for Brandon Beane. He has to also, he can't stop putting playmakers around Josh. We can't look at the wide receiving core and say, okay, we got it. That's our guys. You got to bring other guys in there to be able to push and be able to make plays, change up the tendencies, and be able to get after it. I personally think they're going to sign a big play receiver. That's me personally. I think that's going to happen, especially if you want to throw the ball all over the yard. They're going to sign someone else. They're going to shake it up a little bit, and they're going to shock everybody, and they're going to bring in a guy when they may re-sign Kenny Stills. I think he can bring a lot, but they're going to sign somebody. They're going to sign another playmaker to put around Josh, especially even if they did sign him to another contract, it probably won't kick him for next season. It'll probably be a season or two after. They'll probably structure how they did Trey White's. So it'll probably be something like that, and they have to sign that. I think that's done already. They're going to sign him, but you got to put more playmakers around him. We can't just stay put. We have to. Otherwise, that's going to be a problem next year. We're like, okay, we need guys to make plays. That's going to turn into a problem if we don't.
I mean, I don't even think you need like a big name receiver. I don't think you. I mean, that's where I think we do believe we need to bring some more playmakers, but I don't believe we need a big name. Like I said, I'd love to bring in a John Ross. Maybe check out and see what a Marquise Goodwin has. I mean, he wasn't really on the roster last year, but those type of guys who can go, who have world class speed, and I think you add those guys with Beasley, with Diggs and Gabe Davis. I'm not going to say John Brown because John Brown is on our list of casualties right now.
Yeah, I think this, and when you mention John Ross, I make crazy predictions, but I'm gonna start putting it out there. If John Ross came here, he'd price himself out after one season. Right. With Josh Allen and with everybody around him, he'd price himself out after one season. How Dable would use him, I believe he would use him with literally 4.2 speed. Everybody like to say 4.2. No, that dude is a 4.2. And what he would bring to this offense, it would be ridiculous. It could potentially be ridiculous. I like that name.
Yeah, I definitely have a few people I'm working on now that are, kind of top tier, middle tier, and bottom tier in terms of free agents that would look attractive. And John Ross is definitely one of them. I think because I think it's a foregone conclusion that John Brown is not. I'd be absolutely shocked if John Brown is on this team next year, if at the very least his contract isn't completely revamped. But John Ross is definitely somebody to bring in that would make a lot of sense if you're losing a John Brown, and they can kind of fill that role. And at the same time, he has a lot of Isaiah McKenzie qualities that he could use in this offense. And if we don't bring in Isaiah McKenzie back, because I think he's earned him. So I think some people are going to throw a little bit of money at him and try to bring him in as a little X factor type thing. So John Ross would kind of fit two roles as a John Brown and as an Isaiah McKenzie. But I think there's the defense is where all the fat needs to get cut right off the rip. I think there's too many people out there. We'll go back and forth. I mean, I wouldn't be shocked if Jerry Hughes is on the roster. That wouldn't shock me. I just think from a personal standpoint, I think at some point when we're giving him all that money, the production just hasn't been there. And I'm tired of people saying, well, he needs another guy across from him. Well, then you shouldn't be making $10 million a year if you need somebody else to help you.
That I can agree with you. I can agree with you, Greg. I agree with you.
And you know what I'm saying? And that's the way I kind of feel about him is we're paying him premier money to do, average things, and that's what I don't like about him is that he's definitely underperforming for what he's getting paid. But that's it. We go back and we talk a lot about, the production of Ed Oliver and other guys. And I bring it up almost every week. The absence of Star Lotulelei from this defense was devastating. And I think we all kind of said, oh shit, he's not coming back. That stinks. I don't think we all realized what ramifications, the regression of Ed Oliver. I mean, he was asked to do a lot of things that he had no business doing. Ed Oliver was not brought in here to be a one technique, eating double teams and playing over the sun. That was not what we brought him in here for.
He did a lot this year too.
And as I said, he was still somewhat productive given, what we asked him to do, to play out of position and to do things. So I think that was really a kind of I don't want to say slap in the face at Oliver, but it was almost kind of a wasted year for him where we weren't really exploiting his talents properly. Right. He's a three technique. He's a guy who should be one-on-one, winning those battles and being the kind of poor man's Aaron Donald. He has those abilities. I mean, are we ever going to tap him? I don't know. But Star Lotulelei not being around, I think, made this defense not as good as it could have been. I still think, with that said, Mario Addison, gone. I don't see paying a 72-year-old defensive end $10 million when you're already paying Jerry Hughes the same amount of money to do nothing. So those are the decisions. I don't even think they're hard decisions. Mario Addison, gone. Vernon Butler, gone.
See, the problem with getting rid of Mario Addison is you locked him in too long of a deal. See, what happened in that situation is this. You were comfortable with him. You knew him. You offered Shaq Lawson. I do know for a fact they offered Shaq Lawson a contract before they offered Mario Addison. The same deal, 3 years, $30 million. Shaq took the deal in Miami because of the state income tax. I know that for a fact. I can tell you that. I can tell you from fact. I don't want to tell you how I know, but I can tell you for a fact that's why. And then you went to Mario Addison. Just because you offered Shaq Lawson that money, you should have never offered Mario Addison at 32 years old 3 years and $30 million.
No.
Not without at least having an option to get out after the first year. We should have learned our lesson from Trent Murphy.
Yeah.
And we didn't. We didn't. Now, you can't get rid of Mario Addison until after June 1st to the point where the cap penalty, where it's even worth getting rid of him. Because if you get rid of him now, the cap penalty is like $5 million and the salary you're saving is like $4 or $5 million. It's not even worth it right now.
Yeah.
But if you have to ask me how do we fix this cap, I'm going to say this. Okay, if I had to fix this cap right now, the first person I'm getting rid of is, unfortunately, I loved this signing last year, but when we made the deal, but it ain't working out. Quentin Jefferson, $8 million, that has to go. If the Bills are starting this season with $2 million, that gets you to $10 million in space. All right. The next move I'm going to make is obviously Vernon Butler. This is not working out. You don't need him. He is by far the biggest. Let me just rephrase myself. He is by far the biggest worthless 330 pounders I've seen. on the line. He's soft. He's a finesse guy. There's nothing about stuffing a gap or a hole about that dude. So that's going to get you to what? Now, if you release him, now you're up to 16.8 million right now. John Brown, I'm going to do my best to keep John. I'm going to try not to cut him. I'm going to offer him a restructure to cut his deal in half. Like, listen, John, we don't really want to have to replace anybody receiving core. We'd like to have you back, but we got to cut that salary from 8 to 4, bro. If he can do it, I'm cool with it. That gets you to what? Where we at now? Are we at 22 mil now? Something around there, 22 million? Then, I know Brandon Beane does not like to do the restructure game, and it's a dangerous game to play. I don't know if anybody doesn't know what's going on with the New Orleans Saints of how those many years they backloaded deals, restructure.
Yeah, it's gonna catch up to him in a big way.
Well, they're caught up now, and you're $100 million in debt. It's something that you don't want to do. So the next move I'm going to make is, at this point, I am not resigning Matt Milano. I know a lot of people are going to sit well. I'm not even thinking about resigning Matt Milano. And from Brandon Beane's press conference yesterday, it doesn't sound like he's too confident. It doesn't sound like he's too interested as well.
No.
I got to restructure Mitch Morris. Mitch, we got to take some of that money down, bro. Like I said, you're at about $8 million for the year, or like I think it's around $11 million for cap hit for this year. Yeah. We need to get that down to 7. That's going to put me around 26 million range. And then Jerry Hughes. I'm not a fan of Jerry Hughes' contract. I wasn't a fan a couple years when we gave the extension to him because I thought he didn't live up to or earn it. I thought it was a culture extension. Like, you know what? We like what you bring to our team. We love that you come in, you bring your hard hat, and you work hard. You're part of our team. We want to keep you here. You can't give $10 million as a consolation prize. You cannot do that each year. We have to stop that. So I'm actually going to do the opposite to get rid of Jerry Hughes. I'm going to extend him 1 year. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the base salary down from this year from 10 mil to 6 mil and give him next year another 6 mil. What that's going to allow me to do, that's going to get me to around the 30 million I'm looking for. The Bills are not going to have much more than that to work with, and that's all you need. Yes, enough to re-sign Darrell Williams. That's enough to figure out what the hell you're doing at guard. And if you do want to bring in a bigger name, you can. You just kind of got to do it the Kansas City Chiefs way as I look at their cap space. Give the base salary $1 million for the year. Give the rest in bonus money. That's just the way it's going to have to be done.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure. I mean, I'm definitely not extremely well versed in the magic that would take place behind the scenes and how you finagle these things. But I'm sure there's a way. I mean, all 32 teams in the NFL have to juggle this thing. So there's a way to make these contracts work. But I just think if you look right off the rip, we got a ton of fat that we could cut. And I don't even think I don't think it affects us. Are we worse off next year without Vernon Butler on our team? You know what I'm saying?
No.
But that's what I'm saying. Are we worse off next year without Mario Addison? No. So, I mean, I don't think those are hard things. A lot of people like Quentin Jefferson. I liked him. I didn't like him at $8 million.
No.
You know what I'm saying?
You got to go.
Especially, he's the type of guy. He was a rotational guy. He didn't play a lot of downs. That was so. I mean, off the rip. I mean, what sucks is that we're sitting here talking about a lot of crappy contracts that Beane threw out here just in a few minutes, and who knows exactly why. But the Vernon Butler thing was a stopgap because we knew we lost Artulele. But he was never a one technique player. He was an overgrown 3 technique who didn't like to get dirty and never lived up to his potential since he got drafted. And we threw a ton of money at him. And we threw a ton of money at Addison. And we threw a ton of money at Jefferson. So, all those guys could be gone for all I care. And I don't think we only open up space to let other guys come in. And those are decisions that we have to make to get better. And I don't think any of us are sitting here saying, well, we're not going to be able to beat Kansas City without Mario Addison's old ass out there.
Yeah.
But I'm saying those are the things. And I'm tired of Buffalo fans acting like that we owe these people something. We got to keep them. They're our guys. And we're like, no, man. Do you want to win? Then you got to make these. It's a business decision.
Yeah.
If we want to get better and we want to go out there, then we got to go out and get better. We got to stop telling ourselves Jerry Hughes is worth $10 million a year because he's not. I like the guy. He's not $10 million a year defensive end. You go out around the league and look at comparable contracts and you look at the productivity, and I'm sure somebody's going to come out here and tweet and tell me, oh, Jerry Hughes was the number 2 rated NFL guy in pass rush wins. You know what the hell a pass rush win is? A pass rush win is a sack. I don't care what next gen stats tell me that he beat his guy. Get a sack, be productive, take down quarterbacks, give me tackles for losses, do all that stuff. Then you're worth $10 million. Don't come out here and tell me that he was the number 2 guy in pass rush win efficiency, whatever the hell that is. I want guys that can rush the passer, get to the quarterback, take him down. Those are the things that we got to do this offseason, and they're not pretty, they're not easy, to be that team, period.
One thing I want to say about those contracts, Vernon Butler, Quentin Jefferson, Mario Addison. Yeah, we gave them. We could say they were bad contracts, but one thing that was smart about Bean, he made it very, very easy for the team to get out of it after 1 year. I will give him that.
Right.
He made it very easy for the team to get out after 1 year. He front loaded it to the point to where, okay, hey, we got you this year, but if we need to move away, we can do it easily.
Yeah, he definitely deserves credit for that. I mean, at least for Christ's sake, he got away from we're calling him 1 year Bean for a while there. Everybody we seen seemed to be a 1 year deal. So I mean, you can't have the best of both worlds. So I mean, I guess we're all in agreement. There's no way to re-sign Matt Milano here. I don't think we should. I mean, I think Matt Milano is one of the most overrated players in the history of the Buffalo Bills.
Lore.
And to be honest with you, I may take a younger Kiko Alonso over Matt Milano, to be completely
honest.
Oh,
that's not even a question. We don't need we are wasting time talking about that. That's not even a question. He can't mess with Kiko Alonso, that younger Kiko Alonso. That's not a question. No. But one thing we gotta talk about too, we need to sign Andre Roberts back.
Yeah. I wouldn't.
That has to be done. That's a must.
I mean, depending on where that money is, and I don't think he's,
No, he's not going to demand much. No.
You know what I'm saying?
$2 million most.
The only thing that bothers me is that he really doesn't offer us anything else outside of there. You look around the league, a lot of these return guys are kind of the fourth receiver. Roberts really has no business being a receiver. So outside of that, as a roster space, he doesn't offer us much. But the guy's productive, and he had a hell of a season this year, and he gave us some great field position. So I agree 100%. Roberts would be a priority at a very, very friendly deal.
Yeah.
But, I said the only downside to him is his roster flexibility. He's a kick returner, punt returner, period. And using him outside of that is basically a pick happening. When he stone-handed it for an interception, I think in the Kansas City game, right?
Roberts?
Yeah, whatever game we put him in, he came out for one pass. Took it off
Tennessee.
Yeah,
that was the start of that Tennessee game.
It was. Yep.
Because he also fumbled on the kick return that game, and that's when fans wanted to run him out of time. I'm like, whoa, calm down.
Let's not forget he all-pro.
Right. As Backbone says on YouTube, Matt Chihuahua calling Matt Milano an ankle biter.
We could have a whole segment on him. I mean, that's what I go back to earlier. That's what Buffalo is to me. That we're so used to being mediocre that we love up a guy like Matt Milano and think he's irreplaceable. Matt Milano's a decent linebacker. He can cover well. Matt Milano can't rush a quarterback for shit.
Well,
Matt Milano can't blitz. He runs right into a wall every time he blitzes. Matt Milano is a piss-poor tackler. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? You start looking at those things. Okay, great. He covers. He could do some dynamic things. He's athletic. He's a 230-pound safety playing in the box who gets manhandled on contact, can't blitz well at all. He's basically, we're giving him up. And he's got a propensity for missing big-time tackles.
Well, would it be... I'm sorry, Greg, but I'm saying, would it be a bad thing if we had to roll out A.J. Klein to start at that position next year? I don't think that would be the worst thing in the world. And then let's not forget Dodson.
I think he's gone too. He's another He's another cap casualty on my list. AJ Klein.
Special teams baller. He gonna provide. They don't want that much turnover.
I like AJ Klein, but I can't. Sorry, if we're cutting people, I can't approve keeping AJ Klein at $6 million tab next year. So if you want to restructure or work this thing out or cut him and re-sign him, I'm cool with it. Boy, if we're gonna use him in a game for 7% of the snaps, and we're already paying Tyler Matakevich $3.3 million a year to be our special teams ace. Listen, I can't. I feel like
every time we open up a rocket, we're finding an uglier and uglier contract. What in the hell is Bean doing, man? He's just throwing money around, dude. Is this Monopoly?
We know they think ahead a lot. Was AJ Klein signed to potentially be a stopgap for Matt Milano leaving? That's a legitimate question.
Well, if you're going to stay in this quarter's defense, If that was the ideal, those first couple games of the year when we actually put him in pass coverage and he was absolutely awful, I think that answered your question. That's just not the type of player he is anymore. He's a power player now.
With that, but let's be real, Milano got his ass roasted a few times too now.
I don't like Milano. I mean,
But
like I said,
I like him, but I'm just saying, I don't think they found a niche for AJ Klein for a few games. So it may be something where they're like, hey, this may be our guy, the stopgap guy for 2021 if we lose Milan. I'm just throwing it out there. I'm not saying that's definite. I'm throwing it out there.
I think Klein found a niche. He's definitely somebody you have to package. He's not a 3-down linebacker. He's someone that can come in. He's a decent pass rusher. He's productive back there. He's a good run stopper. So there's a situation for him. But I think in terms of keeping AJ Klein, because what I foresee happening is we're going to go out and draft somebody probably pretty high, if not at 30, to play linebacker. You're going to want somebody there to mold this kid and help him along adjust to the NFL. Because, I mean, not that I'm in the locker room, but Edmonds has got his own issues right now. I don't think Tremaine Edmonds is going to be a mentor guy who's going to bring somebody in and teach him. I think AJ Klein is a vet. He's been around. He probably knows his X and O's better than most guys in that linebacking room. So I think we're going to go out and get somebody early where AJ Klein's value is going to be not just saying he's going to be the locker room mentor guy, but he's also going to be someone who could play the rundowns, stuff the run, be a productive linebacker to a certain extent, and help a guy, God willing, like Zaven Collins, come in and be the freak of nature that we hope he is. You were going to need some leadership in that linebacking room.
Yeah. Well, I mean, like I said, I like AJ. I'm sorry, it's just not at $6 million. I think that if you can restructure and get that number down, even if you get it down to 3.5, 4 for me, I'm cool with that because you're going to get what you need out of it. I'm really high on Tyler. I'm really high on Tyler Dotson, to be honest with you. What I did not know until I was talking to Zoe earlier this year, I did not know he was your backup. Well, he was scheduled to be your backup Mike last year. He in camp he took all the calls for the backup Mike. He said he's a very smart kid, and I thought Tyler Dotson, the few games he played, thought he played pretty well.
He did.
But the whole point is this, man. You have to take a playbook out of a play out of the Chiefs playbook. If you go back to 1989, the Bills, we got beat up by the Cincinnati Bengals in the playoffs. They ran the hurry-up offense on us, absolutely crushed us with it. What did the Bills do? They took that and they ran with it. They made the hurry-up offense their own. If you're going to cover teams like the Chiefs, if Deshaun Watson ends up in this division, which is very possible at this point in time, you're going to have to get away from 2 linebackers on 3rd down anyway. And you need to bring another safety or cornerback in the box. I think we have a guy in Saran Neal that is kind of perfect for that situation because he's played a little nickel, he's played a little safety. Why couldn't we use him as our Drew Sorensen this year?
It's very possible. It's very possible.
I mean, really, Milano is that guy in a sense where he is really kind of and I'm not advocating for him, but I'm just saying in terms of getting somebody who has the coverage skills and that can play in the box, that's kind of what we're trying to fill. That's the mystery of getting somebody who offers us coverage ability and can play in the box against a run and do things. And, but I keep going back to those things where, I understand you can't go out and get someone new at every position. But if we're going to lose a Matt Milano, we're going to replace him with a Dotson. I feel like, are we getting better? I'm saying that's a position, a very big position that needs to be filled. And we started the show off with it. We need a dog. We need an alpha. We need a guy who's going to make offenses have to scheme around. That's not going to be Dotson. And especially at that position, we need somebody at that position who could do all those things, who could be dynamic, who could cover passes, could blitz, could play the run. And I don't think that guy's on our team right now. And if we want to do the things that we were saying earlier to do, we have to go out and get that guy. And we got to stop trying to make no shot at Dotson. Stop trying to make chicken salad out of what.
Right.
Yep.
Well,
and I think we do that all the time.
Well, I hear you, but like I said, from what I saw from Dotson, I thought he was solid. I thought he was solid in coverage. I thought he was solid. I know he was solid against the run. If anything, he was good at when they were in there was against the run. I just think that when we get into these passing downs, we got to get out of this quarter system where we think we can run with 2 linebackers. This unfortunately, this isn't Luke Kuechly and Tommy Davis. This isn't Luke Kuechly and Shaq Thompson. It's not that. Tremaine Edmonds has regressed horribly in pass coverage since his rookie year. Horribly.
But JT, what did I also look? we can get pass rush. I mean, we could if we have a pass rush out there that's getting to the quarterback, that's making him throw. We could survive in that defense and that philosophy,
Yeah.
but we don't have that.
Right.
So you're sending out this defense without that extra cover guy, and we don't have anybody getting any pressure on the quarterback. You're doomed.
Yeah.
You're destined to fail there.
You're 100. What we need is like goes circles back. We need that guy, and like a Bud Dupree. Not saying we'll get him, even though he's a free agent. We need a dude like that. That he can play some linebacker. He can put his hand in the dirt. He's gonna get to the damn quarterback. Period. That's what we need.
Well, there's guys out there, like I said, we know J.J. Watt name is out there. We know that there's things that we could do to acquire him, and we'll have to play with the salary cap a little bit. But we know we have seen teams do it. We saw the Chiefs start off this last year with $112 in salary cap space, and they found a way to give Patrick Mahomes $500 million, give Chris Jones $20 million every year, and whatever else the hell they did. You know what I mean? Von Miller name may be out there. We got to find a way to bring somebody in. It's as simple as that. You got to do what you got to do. But when I look at Vernon Butler making 6.8, Quentin Jefferson making 8, Mario Addison making 10, Jerry Hughes making 10, just those alone, that's close to $40 million.
Yeah.
For what?
So, we're not getting that production. We're not getting that $40 million production.
Yeah, you could have rated someone's practice squad and probably got the same production that we got for $40 million.
Well, I mentioned it before. Even though he got hurt, Bud Dupree name might be one that we might be sleeping on.
I'll tell you what, I would not in any way, shape, or form, to some extent, some of these dudes, that's what we need. I mean, I would prefer to go early in the draft and get one of those 2 or 3 guys that'll be sitting there at 30. And I think that's the route we should go. But I would not in any way, shape, or form fault Beane for going out there and getting one of these guys. Now, we could sit here and we could debate and we could say, most of these guys, that we said J.J. Watt, Von Miller, they're getting up there. The only guy that I would really say, and in which we might be out of the question, would be a Mac. To me, that's a guy. If I'm going to go out and I'm going to make a move and I'm going to spend the money and I'm going to tie it all up, that's the guy I'm getting. That's the one. Yeah. I'm not saying J.J. Watt couldn't be productive for us or Von Miller couldn't have a comeback year. I just think if I'm looking at somebody who's going to do all the things that we want done here, that's Mac all day long.
Yeah, you're right. You're right. I mean, guys, we're hitting hour mark now, so we're going to have to get off the air. We have to come back next week and pick up where we left off.
Let's do it.
It's a lot to talk about. We got a long off season. If you guys are not aware, this is the Bills Yak podcast, and we normally do audio, but now we've been doing live, and it's going pretty good. I think we all like it, So, a lot to talk about. Long off season. The Bills finished season 13-3. Now we got the Super Bowl coming up. Not this Sunday, but next Sunday, and then it's on. We know that's when the real season begins after that, right?
Yes, sir.
So, other than that, for myself, James Mallory, Greg Boucher. Hey, make sure you guys are checking out coldfrontreport.com. We got a lot of articles going up. Greg released his first mock this week about sports Billy Boucher, mock draft 1.0. We know we got Mud Dogs mock coming out this week. EJ Daniels just released a nice article on why we should keep Darrell Williams over Matt Milano Walk. You may want to give that a read. A lot of stuff coming out of Cold Front Report. We ain't gonna stop. We're gonna keep going, man. So we'll catch you guys next week. Probably earlier time, though. We have some difficulties now. We try to get on before everybody goes to bed. But hey, other than that, guys, catch you later. Thanks for tuning in.
We out.
All right.